reputation among Saigon veterans for going where others say there's nothing happening and coming back with pictures. Ut and others were in a group watching strikes by Vietnamese Air Force planes when a napalm dropped, strikes by Vietnamese Air Force plane, a napalm drop trapped a group of fleeing soldiers and civilians. He was exactly on target for the explosion, photo, and again moments later for one of the most dramatic pictures of the war, as a line of screaming children, one of them minus all her clothes, came running out of the smoke. No single photo in recent weeks has won so many big displays. It was 8 columns wide in the Boston Globe Friday, 6 columns in the Nashville, Tennessean and Seattle Times, 5 columns in the Philadelphia Bulletin among newspapers checked by the log. Similar displays were published in other nations. Picture editor Barry Von Below of Johannesburg Star message compliments for the photo of the Star printed across 5 columns. The pictures generated stories. Saigon wrote the first with Ut's descriptive and the available information. Special correspondent Peter Arnett, Horst Faust, and Ut went back to Trang Bang next day and found enemy bunkers in the strike area. Photo editor Carl D. Robinson traced the 9-year-old girl to a Saigon hospital for a Sunday reporting she is recovering. So most of you, I'm certain, know a little more about Nick even than I do, since I'm a refugee from another organization. So I'll just make this up briefly with a few highlights of his career. During the Vietnam War, Nick started as a darkroom assistant, but was later promoted to a photographer when his brother, Win Tang Mai, also
send it to me.
Thank you. Also a photographer for the AP, died while covering the war. He spent some 6 years recording that war before taking the iconic photo of a badly burned kinfolk fleeing a napalm strike on the village of Trang Bang, just outside Saigon. Many will tell you that Kim may not have survived without Nick's intervention getting her immediate hospital care. So he came to the US in 1978 and joined the AP team in Los Angeles, where for over 40 years he's been covering what they affectionately call 4 seasons of Southern California. That would be floods, fires, riots, and earthquakes, with just a little bit of entertainment and sports thrown in. So Nick may have kept a diary because I'm not quite certain how many assignments he's been able to cover in all those years. I'm sure it's many thousands. So, and Nick in those years has been an integral part of that coverage. Basically, a lot of disturbances. He was there when the four police officers were acquitted of beating black motorist Rodney King. He also recalls late that afternoon he saw clouds of black smoke rising over South Los Angeles and commented, "It was just like Vietnam." When it comes to celebrities and entertainment, Nick has made hundreds of photos on stage, on TV, movie sets, and on countless red carpets and parties. Nick says he watches these celebrities on TV quite often, and when he sees them on TV, he knows that sooner or later they're going to show up in court, and he's going to be there to shoot them. I'll name a few. Lindsay Lohan, Michael Jackson, Robert Downey Jr., Robert Blake, and even Zsa Zsa Gabor after she slapped a police officer. So another, maybe not so much of his favorite assignments, has been covering the Hollywood Walk of Fame. A lot of them, right? So if we go back to 1990 alone, which is the start of the searchable AP digital archives, I counted nearly 100 Walk of Fame ceremonies that you covered. I know you know many more. And it's not just the famous ones. It's also you've got to be there for the obits, and you've got to be there when they get vandalized. And the most recent ones getting vandalized were Bill Cosby and Donald Trump. Anyway, going back a little bit in history, naturally Nick has kept in touch with Kim Phuc and has photographed her and been with her along the way. And she now refers to him as Uncle Nick. I'll never call you Uncle Nick. Anyway, wherever he's gone, his gentle demeanor and his courageous life story has earned him many admiring friends and followers. In fact, he now thinks he has too many friends. He said that basically when he reached 5,000 on Facebook, he started deleting them. Anyway, congratulations to Nick and his 51 years at the AP. Before I go, I'm going to read the letter from Sally Busby, our new executive editor in New York. She writes, Nick Ut is a living legend to many of his colleagues across the AP. A living, breathing connection to the best, the most important, the most proud, the most mystic parts of AP's history. The fact that for the last several decades he has quietly, humbly, and dedicatedly gone about his job doing journalism day in and day out without fuss has simply added to that legend. I offer myself as evidence. I was brand new to the Los Angeles Bureau, still unsure who was who. This nice man walked up and introduced himself, asked how I was, how I was settling in. We chatted a while, and then I walked back to my desk, sat down, sat there, puzzled for a while, thinking it through. My heart started to race. I sidled up to someone, I think it was probably John Aztec, and whispered, "Oh my God, who is that? Is that the guy who took, like you know, who took the picture?" "Yes, that's him," the person told me. I stared, "He works here? Like every day?" "Yes, he does." The person said, "I remember telling my husband, calling my dad, 'Oh my God, do you know who I met today?'" 25 years later, I had the opportunity to introduce Nick around the Washington Bureau while he was in town last year for a Pulitzer ceremony. He had never been to Washington before, strangely enough, and most of the people there had never met him, but the reaction was exactly the same as mine 25 years before. Sally Busby.
Oh.